sure you've been hearing about it a lot on the news lately. Concrete foundations. There's finally some help on the way. It's the Real Estate Show. Welcome to the Real Estate Show. My name is Rick Naples, the owner-broker of Zone Realty LLC. You zone your home. Concrete foundations. A lot of information coming out about that particular problem. The state of Connecticut has started to address the foundation issues, and realtors, of course, are responding. The Connecticut Association of Realtors recently developed a form that realtors will begin to provide all of their buyers and sellers about this particular issue. So on today's show, I wanted to expand a little bit and talk about that form, the information that's in it, and also give you a couple of websites you can go to get additional information should you be one of those residents here in our state that are affected by crumbling foundations. Now, in order to get the information correct and to get it right, I'm going to basically read off of one of the forms that's been developed. So just bear with me. This form is called the Concrete Advisory and Disclosure for Sellers and Buyers. Basically, it describes where the property is. It also gives you the year built of the particular property. The foundation advisory that's posted here on the form, as I said, realtors are going to make available to all their buyers and sellers, says that foundation cracks, problems, or failures may be the result of many factors, including those not limited to chemical compositions in the foundation materials or natural occurrences at any time during the life of a property. Reports of issues with concrete foundations in some residential homes and condominium complexes in Connecticut have prompted the state of Connecticut's Department of Consumer Protection to develop information for consumers and to conduct an investigation to identify the extent and scope of the issue if that is not fully identified. Structural engineers can provide guidance and expert assistance into aspects of foundation problems and concerns. Now, that's basically the opening paragraph of this particular form. As we go on through the show, I'll show a presentation which will give you a couple of websites that you can go to get additional information about cracked foundations and what you can do. But let's take a little break and look at this presentation, and then I want to come back and talk about a little bit of the history behind this issue. We're talking about crumbling foundations here on the Real Estate Show and the issues that that has caused in some parts of the state of Connecticut. I just read to you the foundation advisory that's in the new form that's being provided by Realtors to their buyers and sellers, especially for those where this situation may be affecting their homes. This is basically a general form, as I said, that all Realtors will begin to use to provide information and links of where to go to. So if a homeowner is affected by this issue, they can get some additional information on how they can get help and also just read information about it. There's also some other sites that have given some information, and I found one that's put out that gives you kind of a little bit of a background, and I wanted to share that. So again, please excuse me, I'm just going to read from the form so I make sure that I give you this information as correctly as possible. This information comes from the Department of Housing about crumbling foundations. Basically, it says, here's the background. Upwards about 35,000 homes here in our state, in the north, the east, and the central parts of Connecticut, are facing a potentially devastating issue due to the presence of naturally occurring ion sulfide originating from a quarry in the Willington area. Now, this mineral, called pyrrhotite, causes a slow deterioration of concrete foundations when it's exposed to oxygen and water. While the presence of pyrrhotite indicates the potential for concrete deterioration, its existence alone does not necessarily cause it. Homes and structures in approximately 41 towns may be affected by what appears to be a slow-moving natural disaster. As a structure continues to deteriorate, it often becomes unsound. Cracking, flaking, bowing, separation of the concrete has already appeared in some homes built between 1983 and 2015. Now, the cracking starts as small. It can take more than a decade to actually start to appear. Cracks that go horizontal or splinter out like a web are the most common and concerning. A rust color or white powder may appear. The drywall of a finished basement may need to be removed to examine the concrete, although the damage is often visible from the outside of the home. Now, this damage is irreversible. The most effective repair is to replace the existing foundation with a new one, and that does not contain this pyrrhotite. The cost to replace a foundation can differ based on multiple factors, but the current estimates are between $150,000 and $250,000. It's a very expensive repair. And as I said, help is on the way. I put together a presentation to give you those links that I've been talking about of where you can go to get this information and a little bit more information. So let's look back and watch that presentation. It also includes a map which gives you a good sense of what towns they're finding these occurrences in. Let's take a look. That presentation has some good information in it for you as far as what links to go to read more about crumbling foundations. And there's also advice as to what to do. And continuing on from the Department of Housing and reading the information that's on there, basically it says that homeowners in Connecticut who believe their home's foundations may be at risk from crumbling or showing signs of cracking, they should consider testing the foundation by hiring an engineer to conduct a visual or core test of the foundation. Now, at this time, that's the only test that's going to determine the definite presence of this pyrrhotite. It's the core testing. That's the only test that they can do to determine that it's there. Now, there is a link that you can go to. Again, I showed you that in that presentation. As far as where to go to find people that will do those testings and what to do if it is determined that you do have this particular issue. Now, it does say that testing can be reimbursed. There are two things here in this particular information form. It says visual inspection reimbursement is 100% of the cost, up to $400. Costs can test from $400 to $1,000 depending on the engineering firm that you choose. Now, core testing reimbursement for a maximum of 2 samples is 50% of the cost, up to $2,000. Cost for testing can range from $1,400 to $4,000 depending on how many samples are taken and to which lab they're sent. So again, it's something you definitely want to look into to see if your foundation should be tested, and if it's tested, if you can get reimbursed for that cost of that test, and then if a problem is found, what are your next steps that you need to do? Because as I said, it's extremely expensive to replace a foundation on a home. Let's sit back and watch this short presentation, and I'll be back to talk a little bit more about the information that's out there about crumbling foundations. We're talking about crumbling foundations here on the Real Estate Show, and I've just been reading from both the concrete advisory disclosure that realtors are going to begin to provide to buyers and sellers, and also some information I found at the Department of Housing as to why this has incurred, where it's incurring, and what you basically can do to see if you have this particular problem, besides just the visual inspection of seeing your foundation is cracking. The question that's come up is, well, okay, so this could cost me $150,000 to $250,000 to fix my foundation. Where's this money going to come from? How's it provided? And so on and so forth. Well, again, if you go to the Department of Housing's website, it does explain where this money is coming from. Some of the insurance companies are now starting to provide funds available to homeowners to fix this problem. Maybe you're one of the homeowners here in the state of Connecticut that has seen the $12 added to your homeowner's insurance bill, and that money goes into a fund in order to have the monies available to be able to help these folks fix their foundations. There's also, according to the site here, $100 million in state bonding, about $20 million a year put aside, again, for these issues. And approximately $9 million annually for the next 10 years through the state legislation is going to be provided, and that's, as I said, that's that $12 surcharge that they're adding to your homeowner's insurance. This is a very serious problem, folks. As I said, all of our houses stand on foundations, so if you're one of the residents that are out there where you have a foundation that does show these issues, it's highly recommended that you do get it tested and that you do go to the websites that are provided to find out how do you file a claim and how do you have this remedy. As well as stay up on all the different reports that are coming out in the news now about what's going on and where help is available. Let's sit back and watch this short little presentation, and then I'll be back with a section of the show I call the Real Estate Mailbag. This is the part of the show I call the real estate mailbag. It gives me the opportunity to answer questions that are sent to us here at the Real Estate Show, or just asked to me in the general public while I'm out and about. And of course, the big conversation that we've been talking about on this show, as well as conversations that come up just about everywhere I go, is what's happening with these crumbling foundations. I get emails every once in a while that ask me, is there anything we can do? Is there any place we can go? And so on and so forth. And that's why I showed the presentation, which gives you the links of where you can get additional information and where you can go should you need to file a claim if you're one of the residents that are affected by this very serious problem. So I wish you all the good luck out there. Hopefully you can find the help that you need and solve this very important issue. My name is Rick Naples. This has been the Real Estate Show. I thank you very much for watching. See you next time.